Hi and welcome to Best in Tesla. We have got some more studies on robotaxis that show how expensive it actually is to ride one. So Tesla's Cybercab is going to not just disrupt the robotaxi space, which is basically only Waymo in the US, but they will disrupt the whole ride-hailing industry. But not only that, because of the many brilliant moves Tesla has made years ago, they are not just disrupting the whole ride-hailing industry, they are disrupting transportation as we know it. And it is coming so much faster than many realize, as they are not counting on how this will disrupt everyone from ride-hailing providers to robotaxi companies to legacy automakers. So let's check it all out and let's dive right in. So I did talk about the new report that came out from Obi, a company that tracks rideshare data, in my latest news show. But in this video I would like to show you some more details about the price of the rideshare and why Tesla is going to be very disruptive force in the whole ride-sharing game. Because prices for an Uber, Lyft, or Waymo are much higher than I actually thought. As you can see on this chart, the average price of a Waymo ride is about $20 and $15 for Uber, about $14 for Lyft. And the two with drivers, of course, has to put tip on top of those prices as well. But the average price per kilometers is about $11 for Waymo and $8 and $7 for Uber and Lyft, respectively. That is very expensive, but this also shows us that people are willing to pay more for a driverless ride-hailing, as the study also showed that of the people that have actually tried a Waymo robotaxi, 70% of the people prefer the driverless experience. So not having to pay the driver a tip and the privacy of no driver and not having to talk with the driver as well. Many people are of course still concerned about their safety and the technology failing, but that will of course change as the systems becomes better and better and better. But people are willing to pay a lot for a robotaxi ride. As you can see on this chart, Waymo's price is 3 times higher than someone like Lyft. Customers pay as much as $26 for the first kilometer of a Waymo ride. That is some insanely high prices. And you can see that Waymo takes a lot more during the peak rush hour between 3 and 6 p.m. And even though the average ride for a Waymo costs about $20 and they do 250,000 rides a week, they are still losing money on their little robotaxi adventure. Because the cost of making a robotaxi is so expensive and they have nothing automated. They need employees to clean the car, to charge the car, whereas Tesla's Cybercab can do both things all by themselves. No human needed. The Cybercab is really going to disrupt this ride-hailing industry because of the cost structure they have in place compared to basically everyone else. And Uber will not be able to get robotaxis fast enough on their network before Tesla has Cybercabs at scale. Even if Waymo puts all their robotaxis on Uber's platform, they will only have about 3,500 robotaxis on their network by the end of 2026. But Uber has somewhere between 1 to 2 million Uber drivers on their platform in the US alone. So 3,500 will be a little drop in the sea. But Uber with a driver in places like Austin will probably not be very compelling anymore by the end of 2026, as Tesla will probably have saturated the town with like 10,000 Cybercabs at that point. So I think Uber and Waymo, for that matter, will pretty quickly run into trouble when Tesla get their robotaxis to scale. especially when we now know the average price of the rides per kilometer. So we don't know any prices for Tesla Cybercab, of course, but we know Elon has talked about 20 cents per mile when fully scaled in a talk 5 to 7 years ago, but a lot has of course changed since then. So this is of course all just speculations and guesses from my side. But if someone like Waymo takes $11 per kilometers, there is really no reason for Tesla to come out and go as low as 50 cents in the beginning, not even close. Tesla could take $2 per mile, and that would still be 5 times cheaper than a Waymo, and even 4 times cheaper than Lyft and Uber. But the cost for Tesla to put a Cybercab on the street is extremely affordable compared to Waymo. The Jaguar I-Pace they're using now cost at least $150,000. I think that is the lowest numbers I have ever heard. And Tesla has said the unboxed production method that will be used for the Cybercab will cut Tesla's cost in half to produce a car. We do know what Tesla's average cost is to produce a car today, or at least in Q3 2024. So that is probably even cheaper now, but back then it was about $35,000. So half the price would be $17,500. But the Cybercab is not just another new car. That car has also been designed with ease of manufacturing in mind, and is much smaller vehicle than even the Model 3. It has about half the parts of the Tesla Model 3. So it will also be a much cheaper vehicle to produce all on its own. So I am still sticking with my prediction of $15,000 it will cost Tesla to produce the Cybercab when it's fully ramped, of course. But that is about 10 times cheaper than the Jaguar I-Pace Waymo is still working on over the next 12 to 18 months. So if Tesla in the beginning takes, let's say, $2 per kilometer, the Cybercab itself would basically pay itself off in only 7,500 kilometers, or about 4,600 miles. And if Waymo is anything to go by, with the many rides they do a week, at least 50,000 miles or 80,000 kilometers should be a nice round number for a Robotaxi to do in a year. So in only 1 to 2 months, Tesla should have paid off the Cybercab and still undercut the whole ride-hailing industry, like Waymo, Lyft and Uber, by at least 4 times. So what will happen when Waymo suddenly no longer has a monopoly in the robotaxi space? When they are forced to lower their prices from this extremely high price that they can get away with today, like $11 per kilometer, so about 0.6 miles, and suddenly a competitor comes in with a car that first of all costs 10 times less in capital expenditures than yours, and they're going to be able to produce this in the millions by the end of 2026 or in 2027. Doesn't really matter much when exactly they will hit that full production capacity, as Waymo will always have to refit their cars they buy with all their sensors and computers by hand, as this is very complicated. So it limits how many they can actually produce per year, whereas Tesla has made a car and a production method that is 100% automated. No humans involved, as Elon has said. 2 completely different way of doing this. Tesla is going to flood the ride-hailing market one city at a time, pushing Waymo and Uber out, as they have no chance of competing on price and convenience. As I have shown before, Waymo's cars takes 2 to 3 times longer to get you to your destination, as it can't turn left. It turns right 3 times to turn left. The Cybercab will have this huge beautiful screen in the middle right in front of you, and when you are logged in with your Tesla account in the app, it will know your preference of temperature, your favorite music, Netflix series, and so much more. And because Tesla can build so many so fast, they can put a lot more robotaxis on the street and have them available much faster as well. So not only do the ride take half the time, but you also don't have to wait as long to get picked up, which is one of the complaints at the moment, and the whole experience in the car is going to be on a completely different level with Croc integration and so much more. And you will have to pay 5 times more for the inferior experience of a Waymo Robotaxi. Well, I personally think that will very quickly come to an end, as who is willing to buy a product that is going to be worse in basically every way but cost 5 times as much? The answer is none. So Waymo might have 250,000 rides per week, but I think that will shrink fast when Tesla offer rides in their Cybercab, a designated Robotaxi, not just a refitted and outdated Jaguar I-Pace. So even if Waymo double their fleet and rides, well, if they have to cut their revenue in half, it doesn't really change anything. And Tesla will also expand their area they can cover quickly when they see that everything is working as expected. So not only will Tesla's Robotaxi come pick you up faster, get you to your destination faster, have a better experience while driving, and be 5 times cheaper, it will also be able to drive you from downtown Austin to the airport, something Waymo can do. So instead of worrying about, can Waymo actually come pick me up where I am, and can it actually go to my destination I want to, you just choose a Tesla, as it will eventually be able to drive everywhere. And Tesla already has applied to a bigger area in Austin than Waymo. If you go to the official website of Austin Automated Vehicle Deployment, you can see that Tesla vehicles are in the Austin metro area and Waymo is only in Austin. The metro area is much larger because it not only includes the city of Austin, but also the surrounding suburbs, town and rural areas across several counties. So Tesla will start with an area that is something like 13 times bigger than Waymo's. So it will take Waymo a long time to just map that whole area that Tesla will start with, to be able to compete with Tesla in Austin area on where they can go. So the pros for a Waymo Robotaxi will fade away pretty fast over the next year or two. Waymo will get its first true competitor in the Robotaxi space that has not just tried to make a Robotaxi work, but has made something completely different from what Waymo has. It is a generalized solution that will be able to drive everywhere. The car has specially been made as a Robotaxi, but has also been made with production and automation in mind as well, and Tesla has even invented a whole new way of producing a car altogether. They have made a wireless charging solution so their cars don't need humans to help charge. Tesla even have their own charging stations already up and running. They just need to add some wireless charging stalls to the station. And Tesla has also designed the car to be easy for a robot to clean and has made a self-cleaning robot for the Cybercab. And because the car can eventually drive everywhere, they don't even need to transport the car on carriers to its destination. The car can just drive itself from the production line in the US directly to its destination. All of these things are something Waymo does not have. They have really not thought the whole Robotaxi operation through from production to operating the fleet. They have just tried to make a Robotaxi work with the technology that was available 7 years ago. Even though Tesla did make a big change in their approach 3 years ago when Elon figured out that they cannot program their way out of this one. We need 100% AI vision to be able to drive a car as good as a human in any scenario. And even though Waymo have now just been out saying that they have just realized that AI scaling law holds true in autonomous vehicle software and real-world performance can be improved by increasing training data and compute. No shit, Sherlock. But Waymo has not built huge data centers like Tesla and does not have 8 million vehicles collecting data for them like Tesla have. They have 1,500 vehicles collecting data. So for Waymo to shift their process now would not really be possible. They have too much invested in this LiDAR geofence technology and don't have the fleet to collect the data that is necessary. So I don't really see how Waymo can do much about the disruption that is coming in the form of Tesla's Robotaxi. And for Uber to survive, well, they need to shift all their 1 to 2 million human drivers out with Robotaxis. but no one is going to be able to come out with 1 million robotaxis in the next many years, because no one else is doing it the way Tesla is, as most others are relying on LiDAR. And as I talked about in another video, in 2024 there was only enough LiDAR for the automotive industry produced to roughly make about 400,000 robotaxis, and that is only possible if all the LiDARs were only used for robotaxis, but they are of course also used for many driver assist features in normal cars. So if the ramp of LiDAR continues in the same pace as the last 4 years, it will be at least 5 years before we have LiDAR enough produced for 1 million robotaxis. If they all were used for robotaxis and no automakers got any for their driver assist features. So in reality, it is probably more like 10 years out in the future before we have enough LiDAR to create enough robotaxis to replace Uber's at least 1 million human drivers. And that is if Uber gets the entire world's robotaxi production just for the US market. So you can see there's really no chance that anyone in the ride-hailing industry can keep up with Tesla's Cybercab, where Tesla already have their supply chain ready for scale of production. I just don't see how this can play out in a way where Uber and Waymo and Lyft are going to survive this shift. Their business model is simply too expensive and complicated. And I don't agree with the notion that everyone will have autonomy in just another year or two. I think it will be in 5+ years that most will start to have full self-driving cars. But as Elon have said, eventually everyone will have autonomous vehicles, so that is not the question. But like Elon said, Tesla will be head and shoulders above everyone else in manufacturing. That is our goal, and that is the chess move that Tesla has made that no one really seemed to get at the moment when Elon said it back in 2020, because this is going to be so disruptive for the cost of producing a car that no one else will be able to match, and especially not an autonomous vehicle. So not only will Tesla get to scale extremely fast over the next 5 years, and we are talking about millions of robotaxis, not just a couple of thousands, but they have done this in a way that is cheaper or as cheap than Toyota's little mini car, the Toyota Aygo. But we're talking about a robotaxi, where Toyota earns something like $1,000 on selling these small cars, but Tesla will probably earn something like $25,000 to $50,000 every year for 10 to 15 years. So very different. So not only will Tesla disrupt the ride-hailing service as we know it today, Tesla will disrupt transportation. I have many times talked about transport as a service, but I don't think people get how disruptive this is, because not only are people forgetting when they talk about Waymo and Uber, well, their market share will shrink when Tesla enters. But automakers in general will probably see their market shrink as well, as many people will suddenly not buy a car anymore if you live in the city. So for every robotaxi Tesla puts on the street, that will be 1 less or maybe even 5 less cars the automakers will sell, as the utility rate of a robotaxi is much higher. So when Tesla get to 1 million robotaxi in another year or two from now, that will eat into legacy automakers' sale with maybe something like 1 to 5 million units in sales, as not as many people need to buy a car anymore. That will be a big dent in automaker sales volume in the US, and at the same time Tesla will also push out Uber and Waymo. This is really what I think people don't get, that Tesla is not just disrupting the ICE business or disrupting the ride-hailing business or disrupting robotaxi space. They are disrupting transportation as we know it, from how we build cars, what we expect from a robotaxi, and how affordable transportation is. And thank you for watching. And until next time, take care out there and be nice.